Hey folks, Chris Hendrickson here, and I want to go through the process of how I made this trim profile. This is for a set of French doors in the Fairview House project. It's a kitchen remodel project I'm working on. I also made this redwood shelf for the project, but today I'm going to talk about this trim piece. I made this out of 4 pieces of trim. It's a little Craftsman style trim profile. So I'm gonna go through the process of how I made this. So let's get into it. My inspiration came from this Windsor One Craftsman catalog. Windsor One is a California-based company that makes solid wood trim. Seems like a great company. I was drawn to this coastal Craftsman profile for this project. It seemed like a bit of a modern take on a classic look. So this is what I set out to recreate. I didn't use Windsor One boards, though I'd love to for the next version. I picked up these samples from local lumber stores. I first made a mark for the 45 degree on the side piece, trying to use as much of the board as possible since it was a small sample. And the top piece is a different size, so I couldn't just cut it at a 45 degree. So I made a mark at 4 inches for the width of the side piece. However, I forgot that the side piece is 4 1/4. So I made a new mark. I'll pause here because I only later learned of the post and lintel cut that was typical in older houses like this one, and for good reason, but I'll get to that a little bit later. I learned about the post and lintel trim from this wonderful book I picked up at the local library. So here I am making all of my cuts. In a few seconds, my 3-year-old son will grab the phone and sing Hey Jude by the Beatles, one of his favorite songs right now.
When you can start, kids.
I love this dude. Then I decided to sit weirdly on the floor and glue the pieces together. In the field, I'd likely use screws or nails too, but glue seemed sufficient for this piece. After a wardrobe change, I moved to the porch where I continued gluing the back band on. I used a plane to make some final adjustments and got to gluing. Wipe the excess glue off. This thing was coming together. Then I added the corner piece. All right, we were looking pretty good. I spent a while sanding the edges and cleaning things up. I'm such a sucker for this kind of work. And I took a break to kiss some baby toes. All right, I was ready to paint. I used Alabaster by Sherwin-Williams since I'm thinking about using it in the Fairview house. In our old home, we painted the walls, ceiling, and trim all in Alabaster and loved it. I decided to brush the whole thing. I watch a lot of Brent Hall videos on YouTube. Brent Hall is a builder and historic preservationist in Texas and mentioned once that he prefers the look of hand-painted trim. Huge shout out to Brent Hall. I wasn't happy with how it was turning out though. My brush was really old and ratty and the strokes were kind of rough and I couldn't quite get into all the crevices. So I threw that old brush away, did some research, and went to Lowe's to pick up some better supplies. I used a small roller first and then painted over that with the brush. It looked much better. All right, here are a few final remarks, a few things I learned, a couple things I'll do differently next time. First, let's start with the specs. I stole the Windsor One naming here at Coastal Craftsman. So this is a 5 1/4 piece of trim. This is a 4 1/4 piece of trim. This is a back band. I got the back band at Hyde Park Lumber. I got these 2 pieces of trim at McCabe Lumber. And this is version 1.0. completed in May 2026. Pretty simple pieces. This is kind of a Craftsman style trim with this beaded edge. The beaded edge has a really nice effect. The back band is bull nose, so it's also got this rounded edge profile that kind of plays nicely with the beaded edge. As I mentioned before, I think the biggest thing I would do is do the post and lintel style. So do a 90-degree cut here and then a 45-degree cut here. They did it that way back in the day for a good reason, but I think it will definitely look better. It'll be a little trickier cut. I think this piece will be easier because I can just do this on the miter saw, boom, set the 45, boom. This one though will be a little trickier to cut out. If you have any tips about that, leave them in the comments. I definitely did some sanding all around, and I think these corners turned out pretty good. So this is version 1.0 of the Craftsman trim profile. On to the next one.